Hello, my name is John Bannon. I'm an attorney and philosopher. In today's video, I'm going to explain how superdeterminism destroys Eckhart Tolle. This video is what they failed to teach you in college philosophy class about the philosophy of Eckhart Tolle. When I talk about superdeterminism, I'm referring to a very specific and unique form of superdeterminism called Hansonian superdeterminism. It's based on a proof by Swedish theoretical physicist Dr. Johan Hansen, published in the peer reviewed physics journal Physics Essays, volume 33, number 2, June of 2020. It starts on page 216 through 218. It is entitled Bell's Theorem and its Tests, Proof that Nature is Superdeterministic, Not Random. So, Hansonian superdeterminism says that we live in a fourth dimensional static block universe without cause and effect in physics or probabilistic causation or physical causation. This is the polar opposite of classic superdeterminism, which was first posited by Dr. John Bell in 1985, because that classic version of superdeterminism relies on hidden causal variables. But Dr. Hansen proved that causation itself is not real, so Hansonian superdeterminism can't possibly rely on hidden causal variables. Instead, Hansonian superdeterminism says we live in three dimensions of space and a fourth hidden dimension of time, and all the particles in that fourth dimensional block universe don't move. They're set like pebbles in concrete. They can't be changed without cause and effect in physics. They're permanent. So essentially, our existence is in this fourth dimensional block universe where all the particles are set in place, but these particles do have patterns through the static dimension of time. And that patterning is what we call or we describe as our laws of physics and our reality. So I put up 5 points on the board of Eckhart Tolle's philosophy, and I'm going to go through each point and prove to you how superdeterminism says that this is wrong. So the first point is Eckhart Tolle rejects the notion of Christian prayer. So Eckhart Tolle basically says, look, prayer is just you talking to yourself. It's not telling you anything true, metaphysically speaking. However, under Hansonian superdeterminism, our thoughts can be predetermined. And because of that, God can predetermine our thoughts to actually be a spiritual experience that he intended to exhibit in our minds when he atemporally created the static block universe. So it is possible under superdeterminism for even our thoughts to ourselves to be predetermined to exhibit a spirituality intended by God. In other words, that we get the message. It's been predetermined that we think this way, and the intention was that we would get this spiritual understanding. Um, Now, under Hansonian superdeterminism, human thoughts have to be predetermined. And the reason for that is, for example, if you consciously decide to move your arm is a physical reality, which means the future movement of your arm has to be predetermined. But if your arm movement is predetermined, then your conscious thought to move your arm must also be predetermined in order for your arm movement to be predetermined. So, in the static block universe, all the events, past, present, and future, uh, all exist equally. They all presently exist. They're permanent. They don't change. They don't go away. So, because everything's predetermined, even future events like you moving your arm, that means your conscious decision to move your arm must also be predetermined in order for your arm movement to be predetermined, which means your conscious thoughts are predetermined in the static block universe, which means God can predetermine you to have spiritual experiences, even in your own thoughts, even if you're just speaking to yourself. So, under Hansonian superdeterminism, there's no reason to reject the idea of Christian prayer. Number four, metaphysical truth cannot be grasped by the analytical mind. However, under Hansonian superdeterminism, our thoughts in our mind are predetermined. They are physical realities and aspects of the static block universe itself. This means that our thoughts in our minds can, in fact, exhibit metaphysical truths because our thoughts are an aspect of the block universe. So if the block universe is exhibiting metaphysical truths in our minds, then that's the case. I think the main issue is that under Hansonian superdeterminism, the mind is not an independent processing system external to the universe or external to the world. It's actually an aspect of the world itself, a physical aspect. Now, obviously, our thoughts and our consciousness is an immaterial experience. So you might wonder, well, how could that be a physical reality? Uh, and that's a mystery. But if I were to guess, I would say because uh, in the universe can be described by mathematical laws of physics. In other words, the logical math underlying the description of our laws of physics tells us that the universe is logic. Um, so one could conceive of complicated brain particle organizations creating a different form of logic, a logic I call the logic of the possible, that has its own reality because it has to have a reality in order to exist. So if the universe can exist on the basis of one form of logic, then why can't your consciousness exist based on the form of a different form of logic? Now, because that logic is essentially encoded by physical brain particles, those brain particles are physical realities and they are part of the predetermined physical universe. So those brain particle um, organizations are predetermined aspects of the block universe, and that is what leads to the predetermined uh, immaterial conscious experience. That, for example, we say to ourselves, "I'm going to move my arm," and your arm moves. All right. Um, so because the conscious mind is a physical reality of the block universe, it can exhibit truths about the block universe and metaphysical truths about the reasons for the existence of the block universe. Number three, God is the indestructible essence of your being. However, under Hansonian superdeterminism, you don't need a God to be indestructible. You already are indestructible. And the reason for this is your entire life consists of all the events in the static dimension of time from your birth to your death. Well, that creates this information packet of static particle patterns in a particular location in space, in a particular location in the static dimension of time where your body exists. So you essentially are an information packet. Um, you're a permanent information packet because you're part of a permanent block universe. Now, um, this means that every person has a block life because all the events in their lives continues to exist presently in the block universe. Then they have a block life. Um, Now, that block life is permanent because without cause and effect in physics, there can't be moving time because nothing can cause something to move in time without cause and effect in physics. So, because the block universe doesn't have moving time in it, it has to be timeless. So, it has to consist of timeless physical reality. And so does your block life. However, if you propose that the block universe was atemporally created and then was subsequently destroyed or annihilated, that would create a duration of time from the moment of creation to the moment of annihilation. That would make timeless physical reality subject to moving time, which is an impossibility because there's no cause and effect in physics to allow for moving time, which means the universe can be created, but it cannot be annihilated. That would be a logical impossibility because then it would be subject to moving time, but moving time cannot be real without cause and effect in physics, which means your block life has to be permanent. So you're indestructible. Even God can't destroy you because logically, God would have to subject you to moving time in order to destroy you. But moving time is not possible because cause and effect in physics isn't real. So you're indestructible and your block life is permanent. Um, so God cannot be the indestructible essence of your being. Number two, uh, Eckhart Tolle believed there were no objective moral rules, but only the love that arises when connected to the one life of the universe becoming. However, under Hansonian superdeterminism, the universe is not in a state of becoming. Moreover, uh, you can reasonably infer that God predetermined Christianity to be the predominant world religion in terms of total membership over human history uh, because it was true. And that means you can reasonably infer the objective truth of Christian moral rules. So, for Eckhart Tolle to say there's no objective moral rules, Hansonian superdeterminism says, yes, you can in fact reasonably infer the objective moral rules of Christian teaching. Number one, remove the ego and accept the now as the only reality. But our ego and our thoughts are physical realities and aspects of the block universe. And the now actually isn't reality at all. The now claims that the present moment or the now is all that is real, and that the present is constantly transforming into the next moment of time, into the future, essentially. Uh, but Hansonian superdeterminism says that's not possible. You cannot cause the present moment to become the next moment in time without cause and effect in physics. So there can't be this now becoming of the universe. It's actually a static block universe where time is a hidden static dimension. So the past, present, and the future all exist as locations in this hidden fourth static dimension of time. They don't disappear, they're always there. What you did 5 minutes ago is still in the static block universe. And what you're going to do in 5 minutes is also currently in a future location of the static dimension of time. So it's not a becoming at all. Um, so Eckhart Tolle is completely wrong on these points, and Hansonian superdeterminism proves it. So I hope you learned something, and I'll give you a second to read the board. All right, until next time, take care.